What if I told you that Beauty and the Beast might never have been meant as just a love story? Disney's version hides a fascinating possibility, that the original tale could have been written by brilliant 18th century women with deeper purposes in mind. If you're ready to explore this compelling interpretation that scholars have been debating, smash that like button and subscribe for more hidden perspectives on your favorite movies. While Disney gave us singing teacups and romance, some researchers suggest the real story may have contained much more complex lessons. Here's the intriguing theory that could completely change how you see this beloved tale. To understand this interpretation, we need to travel back to 1740s France, where we know for certain that Gabrielle Suzanne de Villeneuve wrote the original Beauty and the Beast. What we can verify is that Villeneuve was part of the remarkable literary salon culture of 18th century France. These salons were real historical spaces where educated women gathered to discuss literature, philosophy, and social issues. Some of the few places where women could express intellectual ideas relatively freely. While we can't know Villeneuve's personal motivations for certain, we do know that women in this era had virtually no legal rights, couldn't own property independently, and had limited options for leaving difficult marriages. Some scholars suggest that women writers of this period may have embedded social commentary and practical wisdom within their fictional stories, creating layered meanings that different audiences could interpret differently. When we examine Villeneuve's actual original story, we find a character quite different from Disney's Belle. The historical Beauty was indeed older and more experienced than Disney's version, described as a young woman who had already lost her mother and helped manage her family's business affairs. While the original story does include genuine magic and transformation, some literary scholars have noted interesting details that could be read multiple ways. For instance, Villeneuve's Beauty is remarkably observant and strategic in her approach to the Beast, carefully studying his behavior patterns and the castle's rules. Whether Villeneuve intended this as simply good storytelling or as a model for how women might navigate difficult situations is something we can only speculate about, but the interpretation is certainly compelling. Disney's Enchanted Castle was based on Villeneuve's detailed descriptions, but when we research 18th century French architecture and social customs, fascinating parallels emerge. Wealthy French estates of this period often did feature the kind of isolation and controlled access that Villeneuve describes. While her story presents these as magical elements, historians note that such features were common in real chateaux, where women of the household had limited freedom of movement. The talking objects in Villeneuve's original are certainly magical, but some scholars suggest they might also represent how a resourceful woman could gather information from household staff, who historically often had more freedom of movement than the ladies of the house. In Villeneuve's original story, the Beast is genuinely cursed by fairy magic. That's historically accurate to her text. However, modern literary analysis has noted that his behavior patterns, even while cursed, reflect real social dynamics of 18th century marriages. The Beast's combination of charm and control, generosity and isolation tactics, would have been recognizable to Villeneuve's female readers from their own experiences or observations. While we can't know if Villeneuve intended this parallel, the fact that her beauty responds with such careful observation and strategic thinking suggests the author may have been drawing from real-world wisdom about navigating complex relationships. The climax of Villeneuve's story is indeed magical. Beauty's declaration of love does break the curse and transform the Beast. But some scholars have proposed that this transformation scene can be read as metaphorical rather than literal. In this interpretation, Beauty's victory comes not from changing an abusive person through love, but from maintaining her own integrity and intelligence until she finds herself in a genuinely equal partnership. While we can't prove this was Villeneuve's intent, the fact that her beauty remains strong, observant, and true to her values throughout the story does support this reading. The original Beauty never loses herself trying to fix someone else. She stays centered in her own worth. What we do know for certain is why Disney transformed this story so dramatically. Historical documents from Disney's production reveal their explicit goals of creating romantic content that would support their expanding wedding business in the 1990s. The company was quite open about wanting to create romantic templates that would inspire couples to choose Disney venues for their weddings. This business motivation is well documented and not speculation. Whether or not Villeneuve intended deeper meanings in her original story, Disney's version definitively removed the more complex elements of Beauty's character, her business acumen, her strategic thinking, and her emotional independence, in favor of a more traditionally romantic narrative. While we may never know Villeneuve's true intentions, this interpretation of Beauty and the Beast offers us something valuable. A way to see how women's stories and wisdom might survive even when embedded in seemingly simple fairy tales. Whether or not the original authors consciously intended these meanings, the fact that modern readers can find sophisticated guidance about relationships, self-worth, and personal agency within these stories suggests something powerful about the enduring nature of women's wisdom. Research does show that cultures with strong storytelling traditions often preserve important social knowledge across generations, even when that knowledge has to be disguised or coded for safety. While we can't definitively prove that Beauty and the Beast was written as a survival guide, the possibility opens up fascinating questions about how women throughout history may have shared essential knowledge through the power of storytelling. What we do know for certain is that Villeneuve created a character of remarkable intelligence and strength, and that Disney's transformation of that character reflects very specific modern business priorities rather than historical authenticity. Whether the deeper meanings were intentional or not, perhaps it's worth reconsidering these old stories with fresh eyes, looking for the wisdom that women across centuries may have been quietly preserving. After all, the most enduring stories often carry more truth than we initially realize, even when we can't prove every interpretation.